Good morning, everyone. Welcome on LiveSafari here at Jumo Private Game Reserve. My name is Brent. On camera with me today is Brian, and in final control is Tara. For those of you who are new, you are live. You are seeing what I'm seeing here in the African bush from wherever you are in the world. And it's our great privilege to be able to share our passion with you. For those of you who are also new, we are interactive. You can get hold of us and ask us questions on Game Drive. You can do that via using email. The email address is questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, just use the hashtag #SafariLive. So as you can see, it's quite a cool, misty morning. It's about 16 degrees Celsius, which is about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So far our plan is, especially that it's cool, we're going to go look for some cats. At the moment we haven't found any tracks, but we are searching. And we will keep you updated as we go. Something quite incredible happened last night. Just after we went off air, Brian and myself were waiting for another Game Drive vehicle who was coming to have a look at the quarantine male leopard. And we were sitting there just chatting, cameras off, and we heard the sort of running through the grass. And I think the hyenas are coming to chase quarantine. They weren't. They were actually chasing a small animal called a side-striped jackal, and they chased it into quarantine. And he killed it, literally about 5 meters from us. And then the hyenas chased him. He ran up a tree, and then there was just pandemonium. Hyenas going along. The noises and calls that were going on were incredible. And we moved around a little bit, and we found the jackal. And what it looks like happened is that quarantine only got one good bite into the jackal's back, and possibly it broke his spine. So the jackal was still alive and getting up and trying to crawl away, and it was quite a heartbreaking scene to witness. And very interesting that the hyenas, they looked like they were quite young, and they didn't really know what to do with the jackal because it was still alive and moving. They'd sort of sniff it and then jump away. Then sort of the matriarchs rolled in at full steam, and the calling and noise around us was unbelievable. And they sort of looked at the jackal, sniffed it, ignored it. We thought they might eat it, but all the three larger hyenas that arrived had really big bellies. They'd been eating well, so they sort of ignored the jackal. And then one of the young, sort of, I'd guess, obviously very difficult, but I'd guess it was sort of a subordinate male, came in and then started eating the jackal while it was still alive next to us. So it was quite a heartbreaking scene. Quarantine, after the hyenas left, came down the tree, and he went and lay up in some thickets. We've checked that area for tracks this morning. There aren't any, but we will go back a little bit later and see if maybe a little bit later in the morning he's moved out of the thick bush. Other than that, I'm still waiting for an update on the lions we saw yesterday morning. I'll try and get an update as soon as possible from the guys across at Arethusa. But hopefully it'll be another exciting morning out in the bush. And welcome, and let's go find some animals. Morning mobile station, it's Brent from WildEarth. Is there any update for Safari and Dow, please? Copy, thanks, Sean. Confirm that breakaway ladder has moved. Copy, thanks. So there's an update from Arethusa. The guys are busy following the tracks of those lions we had yesterday morning. There's already 3 vehicles following up on the tracks, so we're not going to go into that area just yet. Oh, there's a nice kudu bull. But we will keep listening and see what's going on with those lions. And if they do find them in an area we're able to traverse, we will definitely go over there to have a look. There's a big kudu bull. I'm just going to try. He's going to disappear into the thickets. Might get another view from a little bit forward. And it's going to be a view of his bottom as he disappears. Nice big kudu bull. There could be a couple of others around. They are nicknamed the Grey Ghost. For every one you see, there's 3 you don't. Oh, that's actually quite interesting behavior, what he's doing there. He's actually putting his head into the mud. That's to try and make himself look more impressive, not only to the ladies, but also to other kudu bulls. So it's sort of trying to make himself look more scary, which possibly means there could be a female and estrus in the area, and they're sort of only times kudu really fight is over females and estrus, and they're non-territorial. They live in home ranges, and you'll often find groups of males together. And when there's no female and estrus, it's very peaceful. But as soon as there's a female and estrus, they can get quite aggressive, and they have been known to kill each other while fighting. Very, very rarely, but actually not that rarely. I've actually seen the horns once. The 2 little, because of their cork-shaped horns, 2 males actually got their horns interlocked, and they actually died from being stuck together. Station's been on the Western Channel for the last 10. Have there been any updates? So for those of you who are new, you'll notice sometimes I lean my head over the car like this, and I'm looking for the tracks of animals that we're trying to find. And if we do find sort of fresh leopard or lion tracks, we will try to follow them till we find that animal. These misty, cool mornings, like the one we had yesterday and this morning, are really nice, especially if you want to watch cats. They tend to be a lot more active in this weather. It's cooler, and we saw that with the lions yesterday, with them playing and running around. So always a good idea to start looking for cats on these cooler mornings, where you know it's going to remain cool much longer into the day than it would normally. In the weather forecast for today, there is a little bit of a chance of rain, humidity at about 88%. So we got our fingers crossed that the light drizzle or rain stays away. But that's one of the things we cannot control is the weather. All the animals, for that matter. We can do our best to sort of read the bush around us, read the news, so to speak, and try to predict what the animals are going to do. But at the end of the day, you can read all the guiding books in the world, and they'll say lions do this and lions do that, and then you can watch a lion do the exact opposite of what it's supposed to do, because the animals didn't read the books. They don't have to listen to them, only we do. no sign of anything yet. We are checking very likely areas for leopard at the moment. For those of you who've been watching for a while, I know you like to follow the lion pride as well. The Nkahuma pride was down to the east of us, quite close to the boundary of the Kruger National Park, and they were hunting a big herd of buffalo, but there's been no updates on that yet this morning. But hopefully they keep, and they were heading west, but they were about 2-3 kilometers from our eastern boundary, so there's always a chance, but it is unlikely that they've pushed the buffalo that far, but fingers crossed. And if we get no luck in this area, we are going to move down to that area later and just check our eastern boundary, see if anything's come in or gone out, preferably come in, obviously. So you notice I turn off the car quite often when there's a little incline, and I'll sort of freewheel down the hill. This is for me to be able to listen to the news reporters of the bush. So a lot of animals, if they see a predator, will start alarm calling, and even a predator like that. Let's see, what have we got there? That looks quite interesting. Let's have a quick look. There's a bird of prey in the tree. Pretty sure I know which one it is. It's quite difficult with this light. But let me just have another quick look. So if you hear that snap, it's me using my camera so I can get a better view. So I can zoom in. So guys, I'm going to put it out to you. Who can tell me what bird of prey it is? I know it is quite difficult because the back is facing to us, but let's see if anyone out there is a real twitcher. And as it flew away, that would have given away some of the clues. I'm just trying to see where it lands, and we might be able to get. No, it's gone. But so who can tell me which bird that was? You can send your answers to questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag #SafariLive if you're on Twitter. So nice of him to fly off there. It would have given you a bit more of a clue to which bird it was. Very quiet this morning. The birds are starting to wake up now, but so still in this cool weather. Not even a breath of wind at the moment. So what we're doing is we're checking an area that quite a few different leopard favor, but the one that favors it in particular is a female leopard, for those of you new, called Karula. And I know the regulars, I don't need to explain who Karula is, but if you knew, Karula is the dominant female leopard in the area that we traverse. So we do see her quite frequently, and a lot of people who've been watching WildEarth for a long time have got to follow her as she's raised quite a few successful litters of cubs. So we checked an area to the east where we find her quite often. Now we're checking the western sections of her territory because we didn't find any tracks or sign of her yesterday afternoon in the east. So we're checking very carefully along these roads in the west to see if we can find any tracks of her. There's quite a bit of speculation whether she's pregnant or not at the moment, and that'll be very interesting to see how that develops. Because if she isn't, she will start mating again. But we will see. I haven't seen her for quite a while, so I'm really interested to sort of follow up on that to see, when we do see her, to see if she is showing any signs of possibly being pregnant. Yo, it seems like the birders are still in bed. No one's got it right. No one's got it right so far. So keep sending your answers in. I'll give you another clue. They're quite often seen in pairs, even though we didn't see it this time. And they are one of the eagle species we do see more common here. Just so you can rule out a few. Well, the Wahlberg's eagles have departed. They've left us. They've migrated north. It wasn't a batelier. It wasn't an African harrier hawk. So there is an answer. It's not 100% correct, but it is close. It's not an African harrier hawk, but it is. It does have Ethiopia, and that's sort of on my bucket list for this year, is to get up to Ethiopia and go have a look at the animals and birds there. So this is it here. Prince Rispoli or Rispoli's Tarako, and it occurs in such a tiny patch of the world. You have a look, that's Ethiopia, the country. Down in southern Ethiopia, it only occurs in the juniper forests there. And then one of the other birds that is very high up, and quite a strange one, and it was only discovered in the 50s. It is a Congo peacock, and it lives in the deep Central African rainforests, but only in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So there we go, a Congo peacock, an African peacock species, was only discovered in the 1950s. I think those are two sort of really big ones for me, but I get excited when I see any new bird. In this part of the world, because I've been birding here since I was very young, it doesn't happen too often, but you never know. We do get strange vagrants from time to time. Thank you very much, Diane in New York. The yellow-knobbed curassow is a large bird species that is found in Colombia and Venezuela, and it's very endangered. Definitely going to have a look what it looks like when I get home after drive this morning. On our northern boundary, we've checked this sort of western sector. Sorry about that, folks. We just went through a slightly bad signal patch. I was just explaining what we've done this morning. We checked the north and western sections for the dominant female leopard, Karula, in the area. We haven't found any tracks, so it is possible she's off on one of our neighboring properties. So now we're on our eastern boundary. These big main roads are quite often used by lion and leopard as sort of highways to move around. So we're going to check, see if anything's come in, and so checking tracks carefully while we head down here. Unfortunately, just as often as you find tracks coming in, sometimes you find tracks going out. There's tracks of a male leopard crossing the boundary here. So, unfortunately, we cannot go to the north. Shit there. But it is quite. Alright, let me show you. Just judging from the track, it is quite a. From very early last night, so it wasn't from this morning. And you can see there's moisture sitting on top of it already. There's this track coming through. So, no crying over spilt milk. So we'll try. See if we can find a track coming the opposite direction. Tracks incoming. Takes in to copy. Efren, what was that update? So what we'll do is, once we've checked these areas quite extensively, if we don't have any luck, I'm pretty sure that quarantine leopard hasn't moved too far. So we'll head back into that area and sort of check a little bit more carefully. And that area is very, very close to our camp. So quite keen to go out and see if we can find some lions this morning. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like there are any lions within our Travis area this morning. But there's no harm in having a squiz. Is any station copying me? Morning, Tex. What was that update on that Modolingue? Okay, copy, thanks. I'm not going to make my way there now, but I'll be interested later. So you can see the mist makes it quite challenging for our cameraman. So if you see that white come through, it's just Brian making sure you guys can see nicely. And the mist is actually dropped and getting a bit heavier. You can actually feel it in the air now. Temperature's dropping. So I better put my shuka back on. It is hitting quite hard. You can see the droplets starting to form on the camera lens there. Well, we're going to keep our fingers crossed it doesn't get any harder. Because what happens if we get stuck out here during the rain is that actually there's a big tarpaulin, and until it gets soft enough for us to move, we literally pull the tarpaulin over our heads and we sit under the cover until we can move.
Not ideal.
Definitely not ideal. Good morning, Laura, who's tweeting us today. Laura would like to know if we get any ostriches in the Sabi Sands. Laura, we do from time to time. Unfortunately, what happens is that they don't seem to last too long when they get here. The lions and the cheetah, strangely, seem to really like them. I've seen 3 times, but further south where it's a lot more open than up here in the north. And if you go further east into Kruger, into the big basalt plains, there are ostriches, quite a few ostriches around that area. But to give you guys an idea where we are, we're sort of, as Kruger National Park goes, we're sort of halfway, and we to the west. There is no fence between us and the Kruger National Park. And with the national park and all the private reserves that have no fence with the park, you're probably looking about an area the size of Wales, or Israel, or I think it's New Jersey. New Jersey, that is completely devoid of fences apart from one or two boundary fences, but the inside's devoid of fences and open, so the natural movement of wildlife can move between the fish and the bush, and we don't get involved. It is a natural system, and the problems will sort themselves out. The only time we really do get involved is if an animal has been injured, or damage has been caused to it by humans. With this weather, trying to get the rain cover out. Uncle Steve. Behind me. Do I need to move my seat? You can reach it. There's a stop. So guys, just give us a second. Just want to put the rain cover on the camera. Put my books away. So guys, we went through a little bit of a bad signal patch there. While Brian's putting the rain cover on the camera, just going to let you recap on what I was saying. I said with all the private reserves and the Kruger, we're in an area that's about 2.7 million hectares. I can't remember the acres. Maybe someone can check what 2.7 million hectares is in acres for me. And in that area, so to give you guys roughly how you can equate it to something you might know, that area that is open for wildlife is about the same size as the country of Wales or the country of Israel or the state of New Jersey. And also, the reason we don't interfere with animals here is because the area is so big, and the animals are able to move freely between them, and there's no fences. It is the only time we really do interfere is if the animal's been hurt by a person or an injury has been caused by people. So snaring, or maybe someone was driving too fast and accidentally hit an animal with a car. That is generally the only time we would intervene. All set?
Yeah, let's do this.
So as you can see, the mist has come lower and got quite a bit thicker. It almost feels like a light drizzle now. That's actually, it is a light drizzle now. But we are not giving up yet. We're going to see what else we can find. Unfortunately, if the rain does get a little bit harder than this, we might have to go under the cover for a while and just sit out. I don't think it'll last very long if it does. Apologize for that bad signal we just went through. I think a combination of this weather and going into a very low area Maybe give Brian your nickname. The windscreen wiper.
I think I'll need some windscreen wipers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to need to add a new adaptation to the camera. There's got to be some clever person who can invent a windscreen wiper for a camera lens. Good morning, Carol in Florida. Very interesting question. Says, do we get Sega antelope in the Sabi Sands, and where else are they possibly found in Africa? Carol, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure Sega antelope only occur in Mongolia and Central Asia, and they've got a very funny-looking face, with to be their distinguishing. A distinguishing sort of feature, but I'm pretty sure Sega antelope are sort of the Mongolian steppes, the grasslands of Central Asia, if I remember correctly. I don't think they're an African species. So I think a lot of us, we've driven around for quite a while, we haven't got any tracks yet. So when in doubt, go to Buffalo's Hook Dam.
Best of.
So we're going to have a look down at Buffalo's Hook Dam now and see what's going on. We haven't found any tracks of anything yet this morning. And I heard over the radio that the guys have been through to check the hyena den, and it's not active either. So, well, when in doubt, Buffalo's Hook Dam it is. There seems to be a common occurrence when we come to Buffalo's Hook these days. The grey heron who likes to sit on top of the hippo.
Grey surfer.
The grey surfer, haha! Just going to go forward a little bit more so I can see up some of these little alleyways. Quite often leopard and lion like to drink in them. But looks like the only things here are looks to be a young male hippo and the surfing heron, the grey surfer. Nice safe spot for a heron to sit. Not much is going to tangle with him while he's on the back of a hippo. It's always good to sit quietly for a little bit and just listen. We might hear alarm calls of the other animals that have seen a predator moving. We're just going to keep quiet for a little bit and see if we can hear anything. Very quiet morning. You can still hear quite a few different bird species. There's actually a blacksmith lapwing here as well. On the other edge of the dam. We'll have a look at it now. There's a blacksmith lapwing.
Rain cover makes it very difficult.
Give Brian a second there, just with the rain cover. There we go. A blacksmith lapwing. Good morning, Amy in Washington. Amy would like to know, she always thought hippos were herbivores, but she's heard stories of them eating carrion. Amy, and she would like to know if that's a myth or is it true? Amy, it is true. I've actually even seen a hippo eating on the carcass of another hippo. It's not something they do often. I mean, they're generally 90% of the time they are grazers and they eat grass, but sometimes they do seem to eat carrion. Not so much eat it, although I have seen them swallow the meat. It's more sort of playing with it, be that they're curious. But I have personally seen them doing that before. So it's not a myth. It is true. Good morning, Diane from Michigan. Diane heard me mention that this looked like a young male hippo to me, and she was like, well, she was wondering how I tell the difference in genders. Well, specifically in this sort of circumstance here, it's the only hippo in the dam, and it doesn't look that big yet. I'm just making an educated guess. The fact that it's by itself, it's probably a displaced young male hippo that has been pushed out of the other dams by the adult hippos as he sort of got older and might start becoming a threat for breeding. So that's probably why this is a male and why he's by himself rather than in a raft of hippos. Oh, he's going to open his mouth for us.
What a treat.
What a nice little treat. So what he was doing there was a bit of a display to us, because he's here and he's just got no one else to display to. No, he's just reminding us that he is a big... That he's reminding us that he is a big and possibly dangerous animal, and we shouldn't mess with him. Don't worry, we're not going to mess with you. Good morning, Kerry from Durban by the sea. Kerry would like to know whether hippos can vocalize underwater, and are those vocalizations heard underwater, and the vocalizations above water, are they also heard, and do hippos communicate via that? Kerry, underwater, I think it's very, very unlikely that those vocalizations are heard, and I don't think they do too much communicating under the water. The vocalizations above the water will be for different things. Most of them will be territorial, letting the other hippos know that this is their spot. The only reason he's probably vocalizing like that is because there's no other hippos around, and he might just do it to listen to see if he hears another hippo close by, to whether know his little sort of spot is under threat. I have watched big herds of hippos, male and female. When you walk up to them, they all vocalize together. I've never been quite sure whether that's a sort of warning to other hippos saying, "Oh, there's something around." But I'm quite sure there is a level of communication that goes on with those vocalizations. Well, at least we found a hippopotamus at Buffalo's Hook, but I think we shall continue on. Since he's being a bit shy now. Good morning, Deborah from Arizona. Deborah has asked whether we get hammerhead storks. I'm not sure what a hammerhead stork is. I think the only thing I can think you are possibly thinking about is a shoebill, which I'll show you guys a picture of right now, which is a type of stork. No problem. But if it is a shoebill, the answer is no. The closest shoebills to us would be in northern Zambia. So I think that's the only thing. I think someone might call it a hammerhead, but I know it is a shoebill. It is a type of stork. The beak is specially designed for feeding on lungfish, which they dig out of the mud in the swamps. So northern Zambia, the Rift Valley in East Africa, through into southern Sudan and the Sud is where they live. But we do not get them in the Sabi Sands. And as you can see, the rest of the stork species, I don't think we have anything, maybe an African open bill, but still not a hammerhead stork. I've actually never heard of a hammerhead stork before. It might be a stork species that occurs elsewhere in the world, but certainly not in the Sabi Sands or in Africa, unless someone has got the shoebill confused. changed my mind. Good morning, Tina. Tina would like an update on the crocodile that was seen in Buffelshoek Dam a while ago. Tina, it hasn't been seen for quite a while, which doesn't mean it's not there, it just means it's in the water. But I don't think it's there. We found tracks of a crocodile going down the road and into the Mulwati drainage line, and they headed south. I think that crocodile, it's very difficult to age a crocodile once it's an adult. It's about 3.5 meters, so it could be probably around anywhere from 40 to 70 to 80 years old. It's very difficult to age them once they're adults, and I'm not sure where the crocodile's gone. And that's not to mean it won't just pop up again. Crocodiles do move, especially as water dries up in certain places, between different water sources. So, just for those of you who are wondering what my plan is and where we're off to, so we checked the western areas first this morning, looking for tracks of Karula, who's the dominant female leopard in this area. We didn't find any, and we did check for her in this area we're in now at the moment, which is the eastern area, and we still haven't had any tracks. So what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to head back towards the last position where the quarantine male leopard was seen last night by us, and I think with that full belly he hasn't moved too far, so we're going to go check around that area, but I'm going to slowly make my way there. I did have a quick look this morning when I first went out. I didn't see any tracks leaving the area, which makes me think he's probably lying up quite close to where we left him last night. So we'll go have a look in that area just now and slowly make our way down there. And remember guys, if any of you are new or you've just signed in, we are live, so literally everything I'm seeing in the bush you are seeing, and you can ask me questions while on drive, and you can do that by sending an email to questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter you can simply just use the hashtag Safari Live. So I'm going to pop onto the eastern boundary quickly, have a quick look for tracks. If we find no tracks, then I'm going to start heading back towards the last position of quarantine. There we go. Cam, one of our zoomies. Thanks very much, Cam. Maybe I was misreading what was said earlier about a stork. Talking about a hammerkop, which basically does translate to a hammerhead. But it is a... Let me just find it quickly. Stop here quickly. I think, there we go, number 46. So I think what confused me, it's a hammerkop, which is a hammerhead, but it's related to the herons rather than the storks. So they are endemic to Africa and Madagascar. Sorry guys, I just need to listen to the radio. Sorry guys, just listening to it. Just listening to the radio, there's an update on the Kahuma Pride. They've actually crossed out of the Sabi Sands into Kruger National Park. So there I was talking about how the animals can move between the different reserves, and there's no fences between them. So they've actually crossed into the national park. The station controlling the sighting around of the quarantine. Now they're coming. That we were with last night. That full belly, he hasn't gone anywhere. That full belly, he hasn't gone anywhere. So we are going to keep checking out this road for tracks. There's quite a lot of hyena tracks on it. But as soon as we get to one of the roads that cuts west, we're going to head that way and go have a look at that leopard. Good morning, Sam from Ohio. Sam would like to know, were there any plants or animals in this area that have gone extinct in the last 100 years or so? I think you've had very small local extinctions, but nothing has gone extinct completely inside the park itself. Everything's pretty much that was there in the last 100 years is still there, maybe just not in the numbers that it once were. Oh. Once was. That was terrible English. So those of you who've just, or might have logged in a little late this morning, so just after we went off air last night, Brian and I were sitting and waiting for another game drive vehicle who was coming to view that male leopard we were sitting with. And we were sitting quietly, we didn't even have the spotlights out, we turned the cameras off, having a chat. We heard this sort of something running up towards where quarantine was lying, and I could just make out in the low lights. I thought I could see a hyena, and I was like, "Oh, hyenas are found, and they're going to chase him." And we turn on the light quickly, and Brian noticed at first. He said, "No, but there's a jackal running in front," and the hyenas were actually chasing the jackal, and they chased it literally into quarantine. He just chased it, so jump off and away. And they're like, "Well, I'm not eating that smelly." And they're like, "Well, I'm not eating that smelly thing." They were all very big and full. And then they went around, and I think quarantine came down the tree, and they chased quarantine again. They got really, really hyped up. And then towards the end, it sort of looked like a young, low-ranking male, which it was difficult to see in the dark. Hyena sort of snuck in there, and while the jackal was still alive, you could still see its rib cage moving as it was breathing, and we could see it blinking. The hyena started eating the jackal while it was still alive. It was quite a sad, it was quite a difficult thing to watch, but that is nature. We don't intervene in this stuff. So that all happened in the space of like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It's just, and then it was over. I think quarantine went to go sleep under a bush, and it sounds like it's about 50 meters away from where he was left last night. So we're going to make our way towards that area and see what he's been up to this morning. So we don't actually see very many jackals in the Sabi Sands, or in this area of the Sabi Sands, and that one is a side-striped jackal. It was the one that got killed, and we just started seeing one on quarantine. We just started seeing them on quarantine clearings. I think I'd only seen jackal 3 times, and then the only jackal we see gets killed by a leopard in front of us. But that's nature. Oh, the little ones on the road. We've got Franklin that don't seem to want to get out of the way today. Crested Franklin running in front of the road. One off, and come on, just turn right or left, it's up to you. So guys, when I get to the bottom of this hill, we might have a little bit of signal breakup as we go through the river. So just bear with us, and I will try and move through that area as fast as possible. Morning, Thelma from Michigan. Thelma would like to know whether we get a lot of lilac-breasted rollers in the area. Yes, we do, Thelma. We do see them quite often. We haven't seen any yet this morning, but the drive's not over. I will keep a lookout for the lilac-breasted rollers for you, Thelma. Well, I don't know if it's going to burn off like it did yesterday. Maybe we might have I don't know if it's going to burn off as well as it did yesterday. So I think we might have an overcast day for a lot of the day, which is not a bad thing, just different. It'll be always good for looking for cats in the cool weather. Can't follow them. So we haven't found any tracks. Towards the quarantine male leopard.
That was Friday.
Is it Friday?
Friday at the big red.
Friday? So what day is it today? I don't even know what day it is today.
Tuesday.
No, it's Wednesday, isn't it?
Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday?
Yesterday's the birthday.
Oh yes, that's right. Yesterday's your birthday, yes. So okay, so it's Tuesday. So we've been seeing the quarantine leopard since Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So we've been literally every day we've seen him for 5 days, and quite often more than once a day, generally twice a day. So we've been keeping close tabs on that male leopard, and as he's ate that whole impala over that week, we're able to watch how the disappearing of an impala carcass. And he stayed very close to where our camp is, so it's been quite nice. And he's still very close to the camp, so it's going to be nice to follow up on what he's been up to over the night. See, although I don't think he would have moved too much with his big belly. But we're very close to where he is now. morning, George Ann from Illinois. George Ann would like to know if we get black crakes around any of the water holes at Juma. And it's her favorite bird and she would really like us to try spot one. Well, George Ann, at the sort of during the wet season, maybe when the dams are full and the Juma Dam gets water up towards where the lodge is, and you got a lot of that sort of inundated grass and aquatic plants in the water, you will get them. They need cover. It's possible that if we go next time we go across to Arathusa, I'll have a look. And I will try to keep a lookout for you. The father of these two, who is named Mvula. There we go. There's Mr. Quarantine walking through the open. Looks like he might head down towards the dam for a drink. So, literally, we left him 50 meters from where he is right now, last night. So he hasn't moved far. So he might head down for a drink. I'm just going to try and move around to get in front of him, guys. This is this nice thing about this very cool weather we're experiencing. That the cats are definitely keep moving for longer. He's going to choose to drink in a puddle rather than in the dam. Just get up. And the reason he's doing that is that while he's got a choice, he won't go to a large body of water because there could possibly be a crocodile in it. So this is definitely a safer spot for him. So that's probably why he hasn't popped up on the Juma waterhole cam. It's because he's been drinking out of these puddles after the rain, which is a little bit safer for him than drinking out of the dam. Sorry guys, if you hear that clicking, that's just my camera. Oh, he's a thirsty boy. Very thirsty boy. So I'm just going to move forward a little bit so we can get a different angle quickly. Actually. So leopards don't actually need to drink. They can get enough moisture from the blood, from the kills that they eat. But where there is water available, they will generally drink. His eyes are closed while he's drinking. He seems to be really enjoying that. See how his ears were twitching there? Look at those little flies, the same ones that annoy us, annoy him. So just for those of you who are not sure why he's so thirsty, as you can still see, he's still got quite a full belly of impala. We've been seeing him every day for the last 5 days. Has he finished off that impala, moved off to go have a snooze, and he's probably not moved more than 200 meters since we found him 5 days ago. It looks like he might go into the drainage line. I'm going to try to stay with him. It can get quite difficult in this drainage line, but we will see shortly. Oh, he's going to be a... Morning, F, how are you doing? Very good, thanks, and for. Oh, he's going to be quite kind. Instead of going down into the thickets, he's going to sit up top here. The mist is burning off and the sun is coming out a little bit. I'm just going to change positions quickly, guys. Get a better view. Trying to think which is going to be the best way. Definitely going to have to be that side. There's a big erosion patch there that we're not going to be able to drive through. So I think for now, where we are is probably best. It's where there's certain soil types, so you've got high soils, you have a high mineral and will actually eat the clay and that's full of those salts. I think this water in particular just happens to be a bit muddy. I don't think they are drinking the muddy water by choice for minerals in this particular circumstance. I think he's grooming himself. Very cleanly leopard, young quarantine. Most leopards are, they do tend to groom themselves often. You will see them licking and cleaning after feeding or drinking. Good morning, Sandy from Indiana. Sandy's got a couple of questions. First, he'd like to know roughly how old is this leopard we're looking at here. Sandy, this leopard's probably 28 months old, or around 28 months old, so just over 2 years. And Sandy would also like to know how old male leopards are when they're sexually mature and ready to mate. Sandy, probably male leopards would be physically able to mate from around just over 3.5 years. But they take a long time to gain a territory. And so the dominant male leopards will generally stop the younger males mating until they can sort of claim their own territory, which depending on the leopard could be as young as 5, but normally around 6 or 7 when the leopard will be able to fight and chase off another male leopard for a territory. Now you see him doing that. He could be removing ticks or fleas. That type of stuff. Parasites. So again, he's still got a full belly, so I don't think he's probably going to move too far this morning. If anything, if he does get a bit warm where he's lying, because he is lying quite out in the open there, he might head down into the drainage line that runs below, runs through Gowrie Dam, particularly below Gowrie Dam. Might find a nice shady spot. If the sun comes out and there's some cool sand down there, I don't think he's going to move too far again today. So as you might just hear me speaking to the other guides from time to time, just have a quick chat with Ephraim, find out what was happening with the Nkahuma Pride, because I think Ephraim was following the tracks. Eph? How are you for? Where are they going for? Oh, they're going for holiday. Oh, okay. Okay. And Birmingham? Fish? No, no Ngala. The I don't think the guys were Booga for them this morning, but I think they were Famba South. Good morning, Virginia, who's tweeting us this morning. Virginia would like to know, has there ever been a case where a male leopard who's taken over an area will let an older male leopard stay in that area? Virginia, not in my experience, and I heard recently that possibly one of my favorite leopards of all time that I used to see quite often when I worked in the southern Sabi Sands, the Campan male, is sort of trying to hide on the peripheries of other leopards at the moment, and he is getting a very hard time, and he's very scarred and battle torn at the moment. Generally, though, a male leopard would not want another male leopard anywhere in its territory unless it was its offspring, and only till they didn't pose a threat to his mating rights. So the reason for that is that the male leopard is trying to make sure his genes are passed on, and therefore wouldn't tolerate, in my experience, wouldn't tolerate another male leopard in the area. You can see that nice landing strip, as I like to call it, on the back of Quarantine. It's one of his very distinct spot patterns. Very, very straight coming off his tail. So it looks like a runway to me. Good morning, Tina. Tina's also tweeting us this morning. Tina said that elephants have quite a strong scent. Do leopards and lions also have a strong scent? Well, Tina, for me, leopards have a stronger scent than lions, and they do have a scent, but it's not that strong. When a leopard scent marks, so when it urinates and scent marks, and there's a very distinct smell that's left after that, and it smells very much like buttered popcorn, if you ever went to the movies. So leopard scent marks smell like buttered popcorn. He's heard something off to his right. So his ears are up. He's paying attention to something. Yeah. Just listening. This is quite a good place for a leopard to rest. Likelihood of other prey species coming close to him is quite high. We've got some nice short grass grazing behind him, so you should get impala and other grazers on there. And also with this drainage line, you might have a nyala and bushbuck also moving towards him. Good morning, Hannah from Cape Town. Hannah would like to know, what is the average weight between a male and female leopard? And is that area specific, and does that have a lot to do with the prey they're able to catch? So it all depends, as you're completely correct, it depends on the area, Hannah. So for this example, the leopards in this area, the males, are generally anywhere from 75 to about 90 kilograms. Anything above 90 kilograms is really, really massive for a male leopard. And the females can weigh as up to about 60 kilograms, but normally around 50, 55 kilograms. So they are very big leopards in general in this area. But take that for example, and that's because of what they're able to feed on. You have a high density of herbivores, so lots of nyala, impala, wildebeest. So they've got a large prey selection to choose from and lots of large prey to choose from. So they are able to feed off larger prey species. If you take the Western Cape, for example, a male leopard is on average 45 kilograms, which is much, much smaller than a female leopard in this area. And a female leopard is sometimes not even 20 kilograms. In that area, they feed off very small antelope like grijsbok, and a lot of sort of birds' eggs, insects, lizards. So they get very small meals. Therefore, their body size is a bit smaller. And the leopards I saw in the Central African rainforests, they were also physically smaller, but probably somewhere in between those ranges. But there is a huge amount of range in terms of size with leopards, just depending on where they are and what they eat. Good morning, Colin from Johannesburg. Colin would like to know, how long could this leopard survive on the current meal it's had, and how long would it at maximum, I'm guessing, before it would really need to make another kill. Colin, you'd probably survive, if you had to push it, 8 or 9 days.
Ignition key.
The ignition key. Thank you, Brian. So you could probably survive 8 or 9 days at a push without killing. Obviously, you wouldn't choose to go that long without a kill. And then also, the second part of Colin's question was that once the male leopards do become have been pushed out of their territory and nomadic, and they sort of hang around the peripheries of other leopards' territories. What is their sort of scavenging technique when they get too old to hunt? Basically, they'll eat anything. I've seen old male leopards eating buffalo feces, eating hyena feces, just trying to get some nutrients. But when they get to that stage, Colin, I'm afraid it's almost always going to end quite sadly. And it's normally the hyenas or lion that get those old male leopards, or in some cases another male leopard. They will also, I have heard of them trying to, or actually actively seeking out female leopards with young cubs and eating the cubs as a survival strategy. Just going to move to let Ephraim go past. Good morning, Virginia. Another question from Virginia this morning on Twitter. Virginia would like to know, after what I said about male leopards, are they able to mate for the majority of their lives until they die? Virginia, it goes pretty much the same way. Even though they might be physically able to mate, once they get to that stage where they're pushed out of the territory, they are physically able to mate. The dominant male leopards in the area just will not let them mate. Forward. Good morning, Kathy from New York. Kathy says domestic cats in the US go batty for a plant called catnip. Is there any plant or something like that in the African bush that does the same for our cats? Well, they do seem to like buffalo urine from time to time and buffalo dung. I've seen a Quatile female leopard rubbing herself on buffalo urine, but I know this is going to be quite strange for some of you. A lot of leopard researchers, when they want leopards to turn to the camera traps so they can get nice facial pictures for ID purposes in areas where the leopards aren't relaxed like this, use different fragrances as something to get the leopards to stop smell, because they do like smells and to rub up against. And strange enough, the most effective of these, and it just proves that leopards have expensive taste, is a Chanel No. 5, is catnip for leopards. Guys, we're gonna go have a look around. We'll definitely come back to have a look if he's here in this area a bit later. He might move into the drain zone, but I don't think he's going to move too far from where he is now. And unfortunately, we have a technical difficulty at the moment. We're going to have to turn off our camera. Brian needs to take the camera off so he can tighten the head that the tripod's on, and so we will be back shortly. We're just going to have to turn off the camera in about a minute or so we can readjust the head. It's getting very, very loose. We wouldn't want the camera to fall off while we're moving. Welcome back, guys. Sorry about that. Just one of those things about being in the bush, because we go over quite a lot of bumps and stuff like that, so certain screws and things on the equipment come loose, and to make sure you guys have the best picture, we try to tighten them, and also to keep the equipment going. Just a quick update on what's happened. We just left that young wild leopard. I don't think he's going to move too far, but we will maybe try go have a look just before we close off to see if he's still in the area, so we know exactly where his last position was for the afternoon. And we are now planning to go check the hyena den again. It wasn't active earlier today, but it might have become active later in the morning, and especially with all that hyena action we had last night after drive with quarantine. It'd be interesting to see if we can recognize any of the individuals at the den that were part of the sort of pandemonium that was happening around us. And just for those of you who might be new or not sure, we are live on Game Drive, so everything you see, or everything I see, you're seeing. And we are interactive with you, so you can send me questions while I'm on Game Drive, and you can do that by using email, and the email address is questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, you can use the hashtag Safari Live. And it does look like this cloud cover is burning off a little bit. We're starting to see a few patches of blue sky. The light's getting a bit better. So maybe it might clear up and we might have a nice sunny afternoon. But we will see. There's an old saying that you should never try to predict the weather. Coming. Is there an update in that position, please? Make my way in. So there we go, there's a report. The hyena den is active, so there is another vehicle viewing them at the moment, so we're just going to meander around and then we'll make our way towards the hyena den as soon as that other vehicle comes out. Oh, nice to see some sunshine. Murray. Murray would like to know if we get anteaters in this area, and if so, what types and how frequently do we see them? Well, the main type of anteater we get in this area, Murray, is a type of scaly anteater, also more commonly known as a pangolin, and I'll show you a picture of them just now. And we see them very rarely. They are active generally very late at night, and they do this to avoid lions and leopards, So lions and leopards and other predators have a sort of peak activity period around dusk and dawn, and sort of the couple of hours after dusk and the couple of hours before dawn. And not to say they won't hunt and move around during the wee hours, but they are generally, from what I've read about the anteaters and what I've heard, is that they are generally active from in the summer months well after 11 o'clock at night, and during the winter months probably about 10 o'clock at night, and that's to avoid the sort of the peak times of the periods. Hi, sorry? There are two of us at present. Yeah, I'm Brent. So there's three presenters, so we alternate. Two cameramen. And hopefully we'll have two vehicles up and running again shortly as well. Have a great morning. Thanks very much. Bye. Thank you. So we're just going to have a quick look so I can show you what a scaly anteater looks like. Other than that, there's another... Yeah, and the other thing that is also probably a lot of people consider an anteater, but he's more of a termite specialist, but I suppose termites are related to ants in a way. So, and that is an aardvark or earth pig. And they also, they do occur here, but they're also not seen very often because of the same reason for the pangolin. They tend to be active during the dead of the night to avoid the other predators. So you guys, if you're wondering what was happening there, I was just chatting to one of the landowners who owns a farm that borders here, but they have a traverse that they're able to drive on Juma. So they were just wondering how many of us there were and what we were up to. So I was just letting them know quickly. Give me 1 second here and I will get that for you. Oh, there we go. 529 is one, and the other is 347, 529, 347, and the last, but definitely not the least, oh, getting mauled by flies at the moment. Okay, nearly there. So, in Africa, in terms of the true anteaters, which is the pangolins, there are more than one species. We only get one species in southern Africa, and that is the Temix, or southern pangolin. And we do in the rainforests there are quite a few more species. I think there's 2 or 3 different types of tree pangolins, and then one giant pangolin that live in the rainforests of Central Africa. Obviously, the reason being that there are a lot more ant species, therefore a lot more for them to eat in those areas. Okay. One problem with this book sometimes. There we go. That is a pangolin, or a scaly anteater. Very sad story about them at the moment is that they are possibly one of the more threatened animals in Africa, and as far as my last understanding is, they are the most oh, excuse me, traded illegal species. The scales are used as love charms in the East and in Africa, so they are killed for their scales for traditional medicine. Not endangered yet, but unfortunately there have been a vast decrease in their numbers recently, and that is the only true anteater we get here, a scaly anteater named a pangolin. And then, as I said, the other things like an aardvark or an earthquake, they eat more termites, so not really a true anteater. And then the other thing that eats ants, I've never personally seen them in the Sabi Sands, but they do occur in the Greater Kruger region. There's a thing called an aardwolf, which is related to the guys we're on our way to see now. It's actually part of the hyena family, even though, and it looks very similar to a striped hyena, but even though it doesn't eat carrion, it eats termites. So we're approaching the hyena den now. It was active just now, so hopefully it still is. Ah, there we go. You can see there's an adult, and I can see all three youngsters. There's an adult. It's so difficult to tell whether it was one of the ones we saw last night. There's so much action happening around us. And you can see some of the cubs wandering off to follow where the adult is. I'm just going to reposition quickly. Amazing how bold these little guys are becoming. There's another adult. And that looks to be the mother of some of the older cub, and I actually do recognize her. She's quite distinct with her ears. She's got a very distinct face. She was part of the pandemonium last night. Sorry, I know you guys might not have caught all of that, but one of the young cubs tripped and fell over its own feet and tumbled down the side of the termite mound. I couldn't help laughing. Trying not to look embarrassed at the moment. It wasn't me. Wasn't me. So the other adult is moving off. They're watching move off. And from what I think, where she's going to go, she's not going very far. There's a nice patch of shade just near the den. And there you go. See, she's actually digging. Brian will be there in a second. There we go. So you can see she's digging up the ground there. And what she's doing is trying to get some cool earth. And I think that's probably going to be her spot to rest for the day. And there we go. She's going to lie down in the nice cool sand that she's just dug out. It's amazing how quickly they grow. And those of you who've been watching for a while remember when we started seeing these guys. They were completely black and quite timid. They would stay quite far away from the car, and you can see now they've got very used to the car. I mean, they walk within a half a meter of the car with no problem. So it starts warming up, and you can see the adults already bedding down. So when it was checked earlier this morning at about 6:15, there were no hyenas here, and the young cubs would have been hiding in the den underground where it's safe. And obviously during the morning there's two adults that have come back from foraging. And the cubs had come out, and they would have suckled, or the cubs that belong to this particular female here would have suckled, and it's possible that the other mother might have been during the night, or might come this afternoon. There's one station at the hyena den site active, 2 adults and 3 Mantuan. A firm, 1 vehicle here. Let's try and move a little bit forward to see what the little rascals are up to. It looks like they are playing on the other side of the termite mound, which is their den. Where have the little hooligans gone? Saw them go over the top. What if they went down inside the hole? Can you see any of them?
I can't. I'm going to try and look in this hole now.
What if they've gone into the hole? I thought they were playing up on top of the termite mound.
Yeah, I can't see anything up there.
Maybe we're playing around and around the mulberry bush with the hyenas, and they're on the other side, and we go back that side, they come this side. Let's check the other side. It could be, now that it's getting hot, that the cubs have decided to go into the den where it is cooler. check her on the other side, but it is possible, because it is getting warm, that the youngsters have headed in the den. And it does look that way. I can't see them on the other side of the termite mound either. So guys, it's up to you what we can do next. We can carry on driving around. We can go have another look for that male leopard we were with earlier, or we can just stay here. Let me know what you guys would like to do, and you can do that by sending me an email, sending us an email at questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, just use the hashtag #SafariLive. Good morning, Mark from Denmark. Mark would like to know, didn't see any male hyenas around the den. Do they play any part in rearing the cubs? Mark, being a male hyena is not something you really want to be in life. It's pretty much the lowest of the low. Even the lowest ranking female hyena is higher than the highest ranking male hyena. And they do come to the den, and sometimes they sort of act as babysitters and will stay with the den, stay with the cubs at the den. But generally, they do have very little sort of actual parental roles, apart from being a clan member. And so if the den was under threat by another predator or by another clan of hyenas, they would definitely help defend the den. But yeah, they are very, very much beaten men, male hyenas. Everyone bites them, snaps them, and beats them up and kicks them around. Very unusual. I think hyenas are pretty much, spotted hyenas are the only truly matriarchal society in the bush, because you don't get more bossy than a large female hyena, and they're often physically much bigger than the males as well. Even with their high testosterone levels, they've got pseudo penises and pseudo testes, so they're very male-like. Apart from the fact that they are females and do give birth, they're actually thought to be hermaphrodites for most of the early 1900s because of that pseudo penis. Okay, guys, thanks very much. Thanks to the hyenas. It was nice to see the cubs out, even though it was just shortly. So thank you very much. The general consensus is we'd like to go explore and see if we can maybe find that male leopard again. So that's what we'll do. We covered quite a lot of ground today. Just an update for what we've done this morning. For those of you who might have missed the first hour or so of game drive, we checked yesterday afternoon we checked the eastern areas where we quite often find Karula, the dominant female leopard in the area. We found no tracks or no sign. So this morning we checked the western sectors that we find her in quite regularly, and again no track or sign. So we checked our northern boundary, and we still had no luck in that area. So then we are quite interested to see when she does arrive, because there are quite a few people There's speculation whether she might be pregnant. It was too early to tell, in my opinion, the last time we saw her. So it'd be nice to see her again. I haven't seen her in quite a while, just to see if maybe she is pregnant. That would be very, very exciting for all of us here, and I'm sure for all of you out there as well. So we then made our way to that young male leopard we've been watching solidly for the last 5 days. We've seen him almost twice a day, every day. And he just finished off an impala kill that was right outside our final control. And he's now, when we left him earlier to come have a look at the hyena den, he was lying up near Gowrie Dam. And I'm pretty sure he shouldn't be too far from there. But let's go have a look. Good morning, Chris in South Australia. Chris would like to know, have I ever heard of hyenas committing infanticide, to bring a male hyena committing infanticide to bring the females back into estrus? Chris, I haven't ever heard of that behavior in hyenas. So what happens quite often is that when a female hyena comes into estrus, the male literally has to beg and can get beaten up during that begging process. Hello everyone, enjoy your coffee. We're just driving past one of the game drive vehicles there. They've stopped for a morning cup of coffee on quarantine clearings. So, sorry Chris, back to your question. And the way sort of male dispersal works in hyenas is that males will sort of leave their natal clan, not always, but quite often. Most of the time, actually, they'll leave their natal clan when they get to a certain age, and they will try sort of sidle up to a neighboring clan. And I have heard cases of relatively often that the males will be killed if the other clan doesn't accept them, and that's just the way it goes. So they do have to leave their natal clan, so their mother's clan, to go mate and to join another clan. And this is obviously very important in terms of keeping genetic diversity in the clans going, so they don't get very bad inbreeding. But I've never heard of hyenas committing infanticide to get a female to start ovulating and start her estrus. See if we can see where we left that leopard. See if he's lying in the same spot. Might have moved out with a bit of sunshine. Nope. He hasn't moved at all. The one thing that's nice about leopards with fat bellies is they can be very predictable in their movements. As a norm, but not always. Let's try a different angle here. Hopefully I don't rush off into the large hole in front of us. But, here we go, let's try it. That could be an interesting angle. Let me know if you want me to move it all, Brian.
Nah, that's perfect.
But where I'm sitting, the camera is a bit high. On the other side of an erosion ditch. Quite a big erosion ditch, so I don't really want to go any further forward.
I don't think you possibly could.
Well, I think I could, but that would be a good idea. morning, Jane from New Mexico. Jane says, is it true that leopards constantly call to each other to let all the other leopards in the area know where they are? And if so, does this male leopard know where the other leopards in the area are? Well, Jane, that's not entirely true. So your dominant animals or individuals in the area will call. His mother, Karula, who is the dominant female in this part of the world, and Mvula, who's possibly his father, the dominant male. And they will call. And the reason they call is more to let the other leopards who are dominant in the areas surrounding them know that they are still very much large and in charge of these territories, and they shouldn't try come move into this territory, because that would end up with a fight with that dominant leopard. A young male like this will avoid calling and avoid attracting attention to himself, and he probably doesn't know the exact position of the other leopards in the territory he is at the moment. The only other time a leopard might call quite often is when a female is an estrus, and there she's advertising to try attract males to come mate with her. Good morning, Michael. He's emailing us. Thanks for your email, Michael. Michael would like to know, do we ever see cheetahs in this area? Michael, cheetah do occur in the area. I have not seen one since I have been here, but I know the last time I was on leave, I think possibly the day or day after I went on leave, Mark and Scott saw a male cheetah. So yes, we do. I'm a bit jealous that I didn't get to see the cheetah.
I was also on leave,
and
also jealous.
Brian is also on leave, also jealous. Both of us didn't get to see the cheetah, but hopefully in the next while another cheetah will appear. There are cheetah here. They're not as in high densities as leopards and lions in this particular area. That's why you don't see them that often. But they are here, and they do move through from time to time. A very comfortable looking cat. As I said, he probably will move from this exact position today, but probably not far. He'll probably head into the thickets behind him as it gets warmer. One thing that's certainly come out is that the sun's come out is the flies. Might hear this smack smack occasionally, and that's just me beating myself up, trying to keep the flies out of my nose.
Need to get yourself a bath.
I do.
It's late.
Good morning, Brian from New York. Brian would like to know, do leopards leave claw marks on trees as another warning to other leopards, or and do they leave any other signs or make any other signs apart from calling? Brian, they do leave claw marks on trees occasionally, but that's more for cleaning of the claws. I don't think it's a warning sign to other leopards. Their main way of demarcating territory is through scent marking. So it's a sort of I can't think of the word now. Anyway, it's based on smell. I was trying to remember the proper word for smelly things or smelling things, but
olfactory.
Olfactory. Thank you, Brian. They work on an olfactory system. So their core parts of their territory, and specifically the boundaries, they will scent mark and spray urine on. And while they scent mark, they'll quite often scrape their back legs. And what they're doing there is turning over the sand and spraying the urine into sort of fresh sand that's been turned over. And that's so that the smell will last longer. And those markers are maintained quite regularly. And that is their main form of communication in terms of demarcating territories, is through scent marking. That's some of the laziest cleaning I've seen in a while.
A half-hearted attempt, very half-hearted.
I'm going to do quickly, I don't know if any of you guys heard me talk about the runway or landing strip on the quarantine male leopard's back, which is quite a distinct feature in his spot pattern that we can use to identify if we can't see his face, if we see him from behind. So while lying like that, I think he might give us a good view of that. Of course, you sit up when of that landing strip. We might still be able to see it from behind. So you can see from the base of his tail, there's a set of rosettes that go very straight. Specifically when he lies down flat, it's more obvious, but it looks like a landing strip. Oh, he's going to start cleaning again. On, lie down so we can see it nicely. So, off to the right, you'll see it. I'll ask Brian to pan there just quickly. You'll see it's quite thick, and that's where I think if we have to look for him this afternoon, we'll find him sleeping in these thickets around here where it's nice and cool. Oh, the sun's quite bright now. The clouds are burning off, so I think we're going to have a nice sunny afternoon. And I'd just like to say thanks to everyone for joining us here on Game Drive. It's been a spectacular morning. A bit quiet to start with, but we have been lucky and we have ended off with the quarantine male leopard. And it's been really nice for now 5 days in a row to be able to follow him. So it's sort of keeping up with what he's been up to, from eating the impala. And then unfortunately what Brian and I saw last night was just after we went off air, about 10-15 minutes after we went off air. But still then, we're still able to fill you in on the story and keep you up to date with the news. And the newspaper this morning was quite blank. Not many lion and leopard tracks around for us to read and follow. But it was nice to see that wildebeest earlier and show you what we're reading in the soil. But from all of us here at WildEarth, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on Game Drive with us, and we really do enjoy and are very privileged to be able to share our passion with you all over the world. And don't forget, we'll be on Game Drive this afternoon again, so please come join us, and we look forward to having you with us again. And we really do appreciate the questions, so please keep them coming in. We will try to answer as many as possible. Thanks very much, and have a great day or night wherever you are in the world.